Well, first up, the International Monetary Fund is optimistic Ghana's creditors, particularly the Paris Club, will reach an agreement with the country on restructuring external debt. This will pave way for board approval of a program for Ghana with the anticipated timeline of May 2023. The approval will enable the country to secure a $3 billion extended credit facility to boost our balance of payment. Here's Director of Communications Julie Kozak speaking at a press conference.
As you know, there is an IMF program in place. On December 12, 2022, we reached staff-level agreement with Ghana for a 3-year program, ECF, for about $3 billion. Financing assurances from official bilateral creditors are necessary for presenting the program to the Executive Board. We have seen strong progress toward creditors delivering on these financing assurances, and we're hopeful that they can be delivered very rapidly.
Well, Joy Business understands the Paris Club of Bilateral Creditors is meeting with Ghana today. Reuters also reports today that Ghana's official creditors are poised to grant financing assurances and form a committee co-chaired by France and China. It said the assurances could pave the way for the IMF Executive Board to approve the $3 billion loan next week. Joining us on Zoom is economist and research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Boti. Good afternoon to you, Courage. What do you make of this latest reporting? Looking very likely a deal could be sealed next week. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon to your listeners. It has been coming, and it's much closer now than ever. I've looked at the IMF Executive Board schedule for this week up until 17th. It didn't include a date for Ghana. I guess if what we are hearing is true, and if we secure the financing assurances this Friday or sometime over the weekend, then most likely, maybe in the next schedule, the 7-day schedule, they will put out, we could see a date for Ghana or sometime before the month ends. So it's
appears Courage is frozen there. We'll try and reconnect with him, but he's reacting essentially to news that Ghana is likely to reach a deal with external creditors very soon. We understand right now Ghana is in a meeting with the Paris Club of Creditors, and so we await the outcome of that. That could pave way for an IMF deal to be signed, a board approval to be reached next week. Courage is here with us. Courage, you're making a point.
Let me know.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, I was saying that, yes, it's been coming. And of course, the schedule of the IMF Executive Board meetings between now and the end of, I think, 17th of this month, didn't have a schedule for Ghana. But we will look forward to the next one. That will be released, I believe, next week. And with the progress of engagement so far, if today's meeting is to end conclusively, then we could have, even as soon as sometime next week, or even sometime before the end of month, have the board sit on Ghana's case. The schedule I've seen so far up to 17 didn't have Ghana, so we can look at the period after that. But it has been coming home, and it's looking more promising now. It's a matter of time now until we get there.
Also, as I've been saying this afternoon, we are getting indication that Ghana is meeting with the Paris Club of Creditors. What would be the consideration in these negotiations with our external creditors? What needs to give in?
Well, I think the consideration is that we have made an application to the Paris Club members for financing assurance. We have to restructure our debt as a precondition for the IMF program. What we are seeking actually is not terms for restructuring, as the willingness, the consent to say that we stand ready to support you during the program. It is that will lead to the formation of the creditor committee, and then, of course, the negotiations to follow after the program has been approved. So what we are seeking really is they considering what our request is and what it might look like broadly, and to say that we stand ready to support you for this proposal you've put before us. And it has to be signed by individual countries, really. So that is what we are seeking to do. the engagement with this committee is just to probably drive home our point and negotiate on what we think is what is needed to achieve that debt restructuring. Then they could give us an agreement in principle in a memorandum of understanding that we stand ready to support you on this road, knowing fully well the scale of problems that need solving, that we stand ready to support you on this road. And thereafter, the fine details of the negotiation can proceed.
All
So
right.
the memorandum is what we are seeking now.
So let's say we are able to secure board approval next week. What happens next?
Well, immediately the IMF board approves the program. The first tranche of the 3 billion facility will be released. That could work to about some 300 or so million thereabouts will be released immediately. What that does is it adds a timely boost to balance of payment count, and of course our reserve position really, which is in a precarious state. Now, the start of the program paves way for you to engage your, if you like, your commercial creditors to even negotiate debt restructuring. I'm talking about Euro bonds here. And it will also allow you to zoom fully into the proper debt restructuring conversation with your bilateral creditors also. What it does also is that it unlocks other financing options that are available to you. For instance, we have heard that the World Bank has committed $1 billion to Ghana immediately, and it's tied to the program being approved really. And the 2023 budget is supposed to be financed from some concessional financing sources. All of these will depend on the program. So once a program starts, you can begin to tap into some of these concessional financing to do your necessary programs and projects. And then the actual reforms with the supervision of the IMF starts, where you could begin to correct some of the imbalances with the hope of building back your economy, really. So all of those things kickstart the moment an approval is made. But the most, I think, expected one will be the immediate release of some portion of the 3 billion fund, which is needed to shore up the reserves as things stand.
Well, while all of this is good news, should Ghanaians expect our economic situation to change once the monies are disbursed? I mean, you get the feeling that we are all anticipating an IMF program, but our expectations should be measured, right?
Yes, we should be very measured in our expectations. You are not going to see inflation tumble to 8% because IMF program is approved. You are not going to see the CD return to the 6 CD levels it was prior to the whole start of this DDP and all this conversation. You are not going to see growth all of a sudden return to 7-8%. It's a gradual process that will be anchored by the reforms that will be undertaken. And it's actually a very painful process we're going to go through. You've heard some of the parameters of the program already. Most likely, there could be a net freeze on employment. You could see that there will be stricter fiscal consolidation going forward, where government may not be able to spend as much as they will, not in a normal circumstance, because we need to consolidate and reduce the rate of debt accumulation. So you are going to see that during that period, you will not see a lot of public investment, especially in capital projects that are particularly growth enhancing. So it's not, if you like, some ice cream in a corner. It's actually maybe 2 or 3 years of some strict consolidation and some discipline required to bring back the finances. What it does and why we are hopeful is that you need some of these things to build back the fundamentals on which you can stimulate growth. And so that is where the message of hope begins, that once the program starts, consolidation takes place, the other reforms and visits take place, you are building back the macroeconomy that is severely dented now, and it creates the springboard for individuals to plan and to invest that can create the needed jobs and then boost the income levels that we all aspire for. So it's not an instant something. It will take time for us to realize the gains properly.
Thank you so much, Courage Boti, economist, also research lead at GCB Capital. We will be keeping our eyes on this story, see if we have any news about the outcome of the meeting between Ghana and the Paris Club of Creditors.